What is going on, everyone? It's Jake on Sports, back with another video. Today we're previewing our second team in alphabetical order, the Atlanta Falcons. And, well, some interesting moves were made this offseason. They drafted Kyle Pitts, arguably the number one prospect behind Trevor Lawrence. And then recently, 2 weeks ago, with the Julio Jones trade, it's going to be a controversial season. Many people have ranked them their ceiling around 9 wins, some people as low as 3. So we'll do a game-by-game breakdown to see how they play out. Opening up at home against the Eagles, I think they can take a win. The Eagles are just as much as rebuilding with trading Carson Wentz, going young team. I like the Devontae Smith pick, but in week 1, I think the Falcons are the better team and the better quarterback will win week 1. Week 2 against the Bucs. The Bucs are just the Bucs. They're the Super Bowl champions. Brady has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Gronk, and all those weapons, and a great defense that slowed down Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So I see the Bucs winning that one pretty easily. The Giants away, while I'm not a big fan of Daniel Jones, they made a lot of moves this offseason, getting Kenny Galladay, getting a bunch of wide receiver help in Evan Ingram. He does have a drop problem, but he's a decent tight end, and if that O-line can improve, Andrew Thomas, and then that great defense led by Leonard Williams and James Bradbury, a top 8 corner, arguably, I think that defense will slow down the Falcons' high-powered offense, and Daniel Jones, with the new wide receiver, they drafted Tooney, Galladay, Saquon Barkley returning from injury. There's no reason to think that the Giants will not win this one, in my opinion. Then they got the Washington football team, and I see this game also being another loss. The football team has a great front seven. They arguably, besides the Packers, gave the Bucs their best game in the playoffs. Their front seven's lethal, and whether or not Fitzmagic or Taylor Heineke's a starter, that team's pretty good, and they have a good roster. Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, they added Curtis Samuel in free agency. So I see the Falcons taking another loss, bouncing back at home with the win against the Jets. I think Zach Wilson will struggle his first year. I think he's a good prospect, and that's why he's the number 2 overall pick, but the Jets' offensive line is still iffy. Mekhi Becton's a great piece, though, and getting Corey Davis, and they gave Zach Wilson a lot of help, especially early on the season. I see Zach Wilson struggling. Then I see them losing to the Dolphins. The Dolphins were a 10-6 team that should have been in the playoffs, but unfortunately, due to so many competitive teams in the AFC, the Colts got the last spot, and the Dolphins just missed out. And I think Tua's development will get better, and that great defense. You still have Devontae Parker. You added Will Fuller, a speedster from Houston. Panthers at home. I was back and forth on this one for a while because I'm just curious how Sam Darnold will be. I have them splitting with the Panthers, but I see them losing at home like they did last year. The Falcons are just, it's going to be a rough year, I think, but in the Panthers, you have a lot of great weapons around Sam Darnold. I think he was an underrated QB last year. He showed off his running ability and made some plays for a Jets team that was supposed to have the number 1 overall pick, but he was able to carry them to wins against the divisional round playoff team Rams. And they're just he's not a bad quarterback, I don't think, and I think he'll do well in Carolina. Saints, another one away. I think it's going to be a loss. Saints have pretty much had the Falcons number these past few years, and the Falcons, they're not like bad on defense, but they're not great, to say the least. They pretty much have Grady Jarrett. I think they'll develop a little bit, but the Saints, even with Jameis Winston and Drew Brees retired, Jameis Winston still has Michael Thomas, a great offensive line, 2 elite tackles with Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead. Alvin Kamara, who's a receiver and a running back, basically. And a great defense with Lattimore, Williams, Cam Jordan, obviously. I think the Saints are going to win this one. Cowboys, I was back and forth. They had a great game last year. The infamous Falcons choke, which we're used to seeing at this point, but Dak Prescott, returning from injury at this point, should be pretty healthy and with the best wide receiver trio in the NFL. I don't see how the Cowboys don't win this one. Both defenses are iffy, and then I just like the Cowboys offense better, especially at home. Patriots next, and I think this could be it's a Super Bowl rematch, but two teams are completely different now. Falcons don't have the weapons, but I can't see Cam Newton not winning this one. Or Mac Jones even. The Patriots still got a great defense that can. Stephon Gilmore can contain Calvin Ridley, and the Patriots are just a great roster all around. Besides Cam Newton, you have Geno Smith, Hunter Henry, arguably the best tight end duo. Then you got Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne for agency for receivers. That'll be good. Jacoby Myers is a good ball player. And Sonny Michel is decent. And a good offensive line. So I think the Patriots are just the better roster and they'll win that one. Then I see the Falcons finally, after a 5-game losing streak, beating the Jaguars. I just think the Falcons, you got to look for wins, and this is definitely a winnable game. The Jags, while you have Trevor Lawrence, the roster outside is still tons of rebuilding to do. Jaguars may get 4 to 5 wins this year. And I think the Falcons, Matt Ryan, will have a field day on this Jaguars defense, and Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts. I'm excited to see this offense, even without Julio Jones. I think it'll be a good one. Bucs again, I think they'll lose at home. Tampa Bay is just the best roster in football, best team in football, really no debate. And like I said earlier, why I think the Bucs will win. I think they'll win this one just by as much, if not more. Panthers, I think they'll split. I think they'll win one. Panthers, Sam Darnold still has question marks, even though I'm high on him than most others. I think the Falcons will split with them. I think AJ Terrell could improve and hopefully slow down DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. And I think the Deontay Jackson's a decent core, but he's not guarding Calvin Ridley. And Kyle Pitts, I think, can eat up against these Panthers linebackers. 49ers actually have a win. I think this will be an upset win. 49ers still, who's going to be the starter at this point, Jimmy G or Trey Lance, you don't know. And I think the 49ers have a great defense. I think they'll be good, but even in their Super Bowl year, which they won, the Falcons beat them in the regular season. Falcons just kind of, Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts can eat up against this 49ers secondary that isn't going to be as good. Richard Sherman's gone. He's still a free agent, I think. And their secondary just isn't as good, even though their front seven can get after them. I think if they can contain them, I think they win a close one around like the 20-16, like it was 2 years ago when the 49ers won their Super Bowl run. Then I have them beating the Lions. I'm excited to see this Lions team, even though Matthew Stafford got traded for Jared Goff. Jared Goff arguably has a better offensive line now, even though the weapons are lacking. And the Lions are still rebuilding, and they won't be that good. And I think the Falcons can take advantage of the Lions' worst, I think it was the worst defense in the league last year. Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, Mike Davis, their new addition from Carolina. I think he'll do pretty good. You have an away game against the Bills, and Bills, one of my favorite teams. I think the Bills will win this one pretty easily. No one's guarding Stephon Diggs. They had Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis, Cole Beasley. That's a great forward tandem right there, along with Josh Allen, who can make any play. Dawson Knox, a decent tight end, and a pretty good O-line. And a great defense, great secondary. Front seven still lacks, but when you got Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, and obviously arguably a top 5 corner, Tre'Davious White, you're going to win a lot of games. And I see them crushing the Falcons at home. And then to close out the season, the Saints, I think that'll be a loss. The Saints have a better roster, and I think the Saints, I don't know, I think it's been like 3 to 4 years since they've lost to the Falcons. Falcons are just not that good of a team, and I see them closing out 2 losses to the Bills and Saints. So I see them finishing with a 6-11 record. However, I think their ceiling, like I said, arguably, with Arthur Smith as their new coach, I think he was the best signing besides Robert Saleh. I really like Arthur Smith and what he did to that Tennessee offense to get Tannehill going. And if they can just close out games, then they could beat the Bucs once. Last year they had the Bucs up by 17. They just cannot close out games. I could see their ceiling being splitting with Tampa, possibly beating the Giants. getting one against the Dolphins, maybe two is still rattled. I see they're stealing 9 wins. If they're well coached and Matt Ryan plays sort of like he did in his MVP season, this team could be pretty good even without Julio Jones. But with that defense still being, besides Grady Jarrett and Deion Jones is a beast, but they're not that good on defense, and their offense, I'm really excited to see Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley and Mike Davis, but losing Julio is still gonna hurt you a lot. And if say they could easily lose to the 49ers, Panthers could possibly beat them twice, or maybe the Jets or Jags get one against them. I see the Falcons low point being maybe like 3-14, but I'm gonna go right in the middle between 3-9 with 6 wins. And then for their MVP, I have Calvin Ridley. Should have been the Pro Bowl last year, even though I love Justin Jefferson. Calvin Ridley was so good. 1,370 yards, and he's a beast. And I'm really excited to see him and Kyle Pitts. He's almost as an athletic tight end. I see them winning a few games just because of having him on your roster. Most improved, I'm going to give to AJ Terrell. He showed flashes of being pretty good corner, but there were times he just struggled in coverage against the better wide receivers. But I can see him improving. I'm most excited to watch Kyle Pitts. Matt Ryan, will he regress at his age? I believe he'll show a little bit, which is why I think if he was in his MVP form with this roster, they could get 10 wins, but he's definitely regressing a little bit, so I give them around 6 wins. And I see them finishing last in the division, even though 6-11 isn't bad. This team's kind of in a weird spot where when you draft Kyle Pitts, you want to compete, but when you trade Julio Jones, it's almost the start of a rebuild, and Calvin Ridley's still young, and hopefully I think they'll get their quarterback of the future in the next draft, but I'm still excited to see this offense. They're always fun to watch on Sundays, and they should be a below average team. Unless they succeed my expectations, I'll be impressed. And that is the conclusion of the Atlanta Falcons. I'll see you guys in the next video.